Oh, it's meltdown season in Dallas. And this time? It's not coming from Jerry's world. It's coming from inside the locker room. Tensions at Cowboys training camp have officially combusted into chaotic drama, and leading the charge? None other than superstar linebacker Micah Parsons, who allegedly, and very publicly, put quarterback Dak Prescott on verbal blast in front of the entire team. His words? "We carry you." That's not just a critique. That's a full-on reputation assassination and a reality check heard around the league.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Welcome to the latest chapter in Dallas Cowboys dysfunction, where one of the NFL's most storied franchises continues to turn talent into tabloid fodder. And while this team is always good for headlines, this one's different. It feels like a fracture, a turning point, maybe even the beginning of the end for the Cowboys as we know them. Let's break it down. This latest blow-up reportedly went down during a heated practice session. The team was working red zone drills, where things actually matter, and the offense was sputtering. Prescott overthrew a receiver on a play that should have been 6, and before he could even jog back to the huddle, Parsons was already barking from the other side of the field. At first, it was typical competitive banter. Trash talk. That's Micah's whole thing. But then, it turned personal. Players say Parsons walked straight over to Dak. Eyeball to eyeball. The field got quiet. And that's when he dropped the bomb. "We carry you. Every damn game. We carry you." And just like that, the whole camp shifted. Because it wasn't just the words. It was the truth in them, or at least the perceived truth. It was the fact that someone finally said out loud what so many people in that locker room have probably been whispering for years. Micah Parsons didn't just call out his quarterback. He called out a culture, one that's been quietly simmering under the surface for far too long. Now look, Dak Prescott is no scrub. He's led the Cowboys through playoff droughts, injury comebacks, and constant media storms. But if we're keeping it real, the man has struggled in the biggest moments. Critical interceptions. Missed throws in the playoffs. Games that slipped away with him under center. And Parsons? He's sick of it. Sick of giving everything on defense just to see the offense fold when it matters. Sick of watching his prime years get wasted by poor leadership and inconsistent quarterback play. Sick of hearing his name in MVP conversations while his team flames out in the wild card. And behind the scenes? He's really sick of the money games. Because while Dak's sitting on one of the richest QB contracts in the league, Micah still doesn't have his extension. And with each passing day, and each new press leak about negotiation delays, that resentment is growing. Let's be clear, Parsons isn't just chirping for fun. This is calculated. This is leverage. The Cowboys' best player is essentially drawing a line in the sand and saying, "Pay me, or trade me, but stop pretending this isn't my team." And guess who's in the middle of it all? Jerry Jones. The man who always says too much in interviews and not enough in negotiations. Word is, Jerry doesn't want to deal with Parsons' agent directly. Some say he's irritated by Micah's attitude. Others claim Jerry's waiting for more cap flexibility next offseason. But while Jerry dithers with spreadsheets and soundbites, the Cowboys are spiraling. Because this isn't just about Micah and Dak anymore. This is about the entire structure. A front office that's famous for loyalty but not for accountability. A culture that rewards brand power over performance. A team that keeps its stars just long enough to watch them fade or feud. And now, that feud is front and center. The locker room is reportedly split. Younger defenders are backing Parsons, guys who've been grinding in camp, watching the offense stall while the defense dominates scrimmages. Meanwhile, some vets are sticking with Dak, believing he still gives them the best shot to win. It's respect versus reality, and the rift is growing. And to make matters worse, the trade rumors are swirling. You read that right? There are now real conversations around the league about the Cowboys potentially shopping Micah Parsons, their best player, if negotiations continue to break down. And guess who's been linked? The Green Bay Packers. A defensive-minded team with a QB-friendly contract structure, young weapons, and a need for a game-changing pass rusher?
Yeah.
They're reportedly monitoring the situation like hawks. Could you imagine? Micah Parsons in Lambeau wearing green and gold, chasing down NFC quarterbacks while the Cowboys are left trying to sell fans on development depth at linebacker? It'd be the ultimate indictment. The final proof that Dallas can't manage its stars without imploding. And don't think this is just off-season noise. The cameras are rolling. The press is circling. And with every week that passes, the headlines get worse. Training camp is supposed to be about chemistry, excitement, promise. For Dallas? It's body language analysis, passive-aggressive interviews, and leaked quotes from team sources. And you better believe this is hitting Dak hard. Because it's not just about Micah shouting at him during practice. It's about the narrative. Every missed throw in preseason will be tied back to Parsons' comment. Every failed drive in week 1? Is Dak the problem? Every media hit? Does the locker room respect their quarterback? Whether it's true or not, the seed has been planted. And unless Dak comes out of the gate on fire, lights out, MVP form, leading statement wins, it's going to grow. Quickly. Micah, meanwhile? He's already won the first battle. He made the noise. He took control of the story. But he gets to sit back and watch the world ask why the Cowboys can't get out of their own way, again. So here's the real question. Can they recover? Can Jerry finally step in and mend this before the whole thing collapses? Can Dak show up and shut up the noise? Can Micah be convinced to stay without a contract that breaks the market? Or is this it? The tipping point. The moment we look back on months from now as the beginning of the collapse. Because here's what we know. The Cowboys have the roster. They have the names. They have the media coverage. But none of that matters if the locker room is broken. And right now, it's cracked wide open. This isn't just a camp fight. This is a crisis. And if Dallas doesn't fix it fast, they're not just losing Micah Parsons. They're losing everything. You can practically feel the tension radiating out of Dallas right now. If the Cowboys were a reality show, and let's be real, half the time they already are, this would be the mid-season meltdown episode, the one where the star players go off script, the cameras catch every sideways glance, and the audience starts questioning who's getting voted off the island next. Because let's not pretend this is just about a bad day at practice. This is a crisis of identity for America's team. You've got Micah Parsons, a defensive juggernaut, playing at an all-pro level since the moment he stepped into the league. He's not just the soul of that defense. He's its heart, its teeth, its spine. He's the guy making highlight reels look like mixtapes. The guy quarterbacks plan around. And now he's the guy standing at the center of the storm, looking around the locker room like, how are we still not winning? And then there's Dak Prescott, the quarterback. The face of the franchise. The man with the star on his helmet and a 9-figure contract in his bank account. A guy who spent his entire career carrying the weight of Dallas expectations on his back. But here's the problem, that weight? It's getting heavier. Every year. Because you can only go so long without delivering in January before people start asking the obvious. Is this guy really built for the moment? Micah doesn't seem to think so. Not anymore. That "we carry you" comment wasn't just frustration. It was a message. A warning shot. And if Dak didn't hear it the first time, you better believe the whole NFL did. This isn't just a leadership conflict. It's a full-on power struggle. And it's happening in front of the entire world. Let's not forget the context. This is a team that's been knocking on the playoff door for what feels like forever. Always talented. Always hyped. Always one step away. But the window? It's closing. And nothing makes a team implode faster than wasted potential. That's why Parsons is pressing. He's not just upset about his contract. He's not just jawing because of ego. He's panicking because he knows how this ends if nothing changes. He's seen what happens when stars stay too long in a system that doesn't reward production. He doesn't want to be the next great Cowboy whose name gets remembered more for almosts than actual wins. And if he has to rattle some cages to avoid that fate, he's going to rattle them. And what about Jerry Jones? Let's be real, this is his monster. This is his Frankenstein. He's the one who built a culture where media appearances matter more than locker room cohesion. where star power gets prioritized over team chemistry, where drama sells and accountability is optional. Jerry always wanted a dynasty. What he built was a soap opera with Super Bowl dreams. And now, that dream's unraveling. He has two choices: step in and fix it, pay Parsons, clarify Dak's role, get the house in order, or sit back and let the fire burn while he gives another 20-minute radio interview about faith in the process. You know which one he'll choose. Meanwhile, the locker room is watching closely. Because in any NFL team, players aren't just watching what happens on the field, they're watching what happens off it. Who gets paid? Who gets protected? Who gets the blame? And right now, the message being sent is murky at best. Is this Dak's team? Then why is the defense doing the heavy lifting? Is Micah the cornerstone? Then why is his extension being dragged out like a bad negotiation on eBay? Every time Jerry delays, every time a coach deflects, every time a teammate shrugs and says, "We're focused on football," that locker room trust erodes. Bit by bit. And you know what happens when trust disappears? Teams stop playing for each other. They start playing for themselves. And that's when seasons go sideways fast. Let's talk about the fallout if this spirals. Say Parsons keeps pushing. Say Jerry keeps stalling. Say the Cowboys drop a few early games and the headlines shift from Super Bowl contenders to locker room implosion. At that point, you're not just dealing with one disgruntled star. You're dealing with free agents who don't want to stay, rookies who don't know who to follow, and coaches stuck putting out fires instead of building schemes. And then? Because yes, if this gets toxic enough, Jerry might actually pull the trigger. He's done it before. He's cut bait on stars mid-peak when the circus got too loud. And as ridiculous as it sounds, trading Micah Parsons isn't off the table. Green Bay has been mentioned. So have the Bears. Even the Dolphins. Teams with cap space, young rosters, and playoff aspirations. Teams that would kill to have a defensive anchor like Parsons. And if the Cowboys somehow fumble this, those teams will pounce. But what happens to Dallas without Micah? They lose their defensive identity, their heartbeat, their disruptor. They lose the guy who's literally been holding games together while the offense goes 3 and out and the secondary folds like cheap origami. They lose their fire. And what are they left with? A quarterback under scrutiny, a coach under pressure, a fan base already halfway out the door. And that's the real tragedy here. Because this team should be elite. They have the pieces, the weapons, the pedigree, but none of it matters if the foundation is cracked. And right now, it's splintering. So let's be clear, the next few weeks are make or break. If Dak wants to prove he's still the guy, he needs to command this team, on the field and off it. If Jerry wants to show he hasn't lost control, he needs to pay Micah and remind the team that production matters more than politics. And if the Cowboys want any shot at salvaging this season, they need to stop pretending everything's fine and start dealing with the truth. Because right now, this isn't just a bad practice. It's the beginning of a full-on implosion. And unless someone steps up, takes the mic, and actually leads, this season will go down as the one where the Cowboys had it all. And threw it away. Alright, let's not pretend we're still talking about football. Because when your star linebacker is barking, "We carry you," at the face of your franchise during training camp, and ownership is ducking contract talks like it's dodgeball at recess, this isn't about plays anymore. It's about pride, power, and perception. The Cowboys? They're not just slipping, they're in a slow-motion free fall. And everybody's watching it happen. Let's rewind a bit. You remember when the Cowboys were supposed to be scary? Not just flashy, not just marketable, dangerous. The kind of team no one wanted to play come December. Those days feel distant. Because now, they're not feared. They're exposed. And the timing? Brutal. With Micah Parsons heading into his 4th season, this should be the moment Dallas locks him up long-term and cements him as their defensive centerpiece for the next decade. Instead, they're letting him twist in the wind, again, while pouring resources into offensive line depth and deflecting every question with some variation of, "We'll handle that when it's time." Newsflash, it's time. Because Parsons isn't just a talent. He's a tone setter. A presence. You feel him in every snap, every press conference, every moment he's mic'd up. And the fact that he's not even close to a new deal? It's insulting. He's not just underpaid. He's criminally underappreciated. And what message does that send? To the locker room? Chaos. If he can't get paid, who can? To the fans? More déjà vu. Another star the Cowboys will probably run into the ground and then let walk. And to Parsons himself? Leverage. Because let's be honest, he's not asking for money anymore. He's demanding value, recognition, respect. And if he has to break a few relationships along the way to get it, so be it. That's where Dak comes in. Because while all eyes are on the Parsons situation, Dak Prescott is officially on the clock. Not just as a quarterback, but as a leader. And let's be blunt, the room isn't buying it anymore. You can feel the shift. Players are frustrated. The defense is tired of watching games get blown in the second half. They're putting up numbers, making stops, and still going home with LS. And no matter what the stat sheet says, they know the common thread. When the moment comes, Dak doesn't deliver. And now Parsons has said what everyone else was thinking. We carry you. Those words don't go away. They don't get brushed off in the next press cycle. That's going to live in every locker room, every team meeting. Every time Dak tries to rally the offense, someone in the room will be remembering that moment. The truth. So what happens now? Well, here's the terrifying part for Cowboys fans. This could be the season they finally bottom out. Not because they lack talent. They've got plenty. But because dysfunction is like a virus. It doesn't just infect the moment, it seeps into everything. Play calling, effort, locker room trust, fan belief. The Cowboys, once again, are staring down the barrel of a season that should be special, but feels cursed. You know that scene in every disaster movie where the experts say, "We still have time to stop it," but the officials ignore the warnings until the asteroid is 10 feet from impact? Yeah. That's Jerry Jones right now. He could fix this. He could pull Micah aside, sit Dak down, call a closed-door meeting. But he won't, because he believes in the brand more than the brotherhood. And this brand? It's cracked. Meanwhile, the rest of the league is circling like vultures. You think teams aren't calling Micah's camp? Whispering things like, "If they don't appreciate you, we will"? You think the Packers haven't run the numbers? The Bears? The Jets? Hell, even contenders are watching this unfold and thinking, could we pull a mid-season blockbuster? Because while the Cowboys stall, other teams see the goldmine. Parsons isn't just an elite linebacker. He's a once-in-a-generation athlete. He walks onto a team and immediately shifts the identity. He brings fear. And right now, Dallas is dangerously close to letting him walk out the door with that fear. And let's not forget the narrative side of all this. Because if Parsons does get traded, the backlash won't just hit the team, it'll hit Dak, McCarthy, and most of all, Jerry. The fans will riot. The media will feast. And the America's team tagline will feel more ironic than ever. The Cowboys have made a habit of turning promise into disappointment. But this is different. This is their foundation splintering. Their offensive leader is losing the room. Their defensive cornerstone wants out. Their front office is spinning. And the fans are exhausted. Not angry. Not hopeful. Just tired. Tired of the talk. Tired of the underachievement. Tired of the Cowboys looking like contenders on paper and punchlines on Sundays. So here's the truth, plain and ugly. This team is broken. And unless something massive shifts, unless Jerry wakes up, Micah gets paid, Dak steps up, and the entire organization stops pretending this is just a little training camp drama, this could be the final crack before the collapse. We could be watching the last gasp of this version of the Dallas Cowboys. And if that's the case, it won't just be a lost season. It'll be a legacy in ruins. So to the Cowboys organization, you've got your moment. Fix it. Because the clock is ticking. And Micah Parsons? He's not waiting around. The Dallas Cowboys are on the verge of collapse. And not the "oh no, we lost a few games" type of collapse. We're talking structural, cultural, no going back collapse. The kind that takes down not just a season, but a franchise's identity. Because here's what people on the outside don't always get. When a team starts breaking apart from the inside, you don't see it on the scoreboard first. You see it in the details. The body language. The silences in interviews that are louder than anything said into a microphone. You see it in a guy like Micah Parsons, fierce, passionate, electrifying, suddenly showing up to practice with that look. You know the one. That, I'm done with the fake smiles look. That, I'm playing for me now, energy. He's still showing up, still making plays, but it's different. He's not rallying. He's watching. Calculating. Already halfway out the door, even if he's wearing the jersey. And the sad part? Dallas let it get here. Micah didn't want to be the villain. He wanted to be the guy they built around. The Ray Lewis. The Aaron Donald. The cornerstone of a modern, dominant Cowboys defense. Instead, he's being painted as difficult, demanding, distracting. Classic playbook. Devalue the voice before the message gets too loud. But guess what? It's already loud. You've got players whispering about tension in the weight room. You've got positional coaches caught between keeping the peace and picking sides. You've got media leaks flying around like mosquitoes in August. Some say Micah's lost respect for Dak. Others say he's been venting about Jerry behind closed doors. Either way, the message is clear. Trust is dead. And in football, trust is everything. Without it, your locker room becomes 53 guys just trying to survive. No chemistry. No unity. Just personal agendas. And when that happens, you can kiss your playoff dreams goodbye. Because here's what's coming if Dallas doesn't clean this up immediately. Dak's leadership gets undermined permanently. No matter how many "I believe in my guys" quotes he drops, he's already been branded. Carried. That label sticks. And unless he balls out at MVP levels, every bad game, every missed read, every quiet half, boom, Parsons' words come echoing back. Micah Parsons becomes a trade weapon. Not a chip. A weapon. Used by his camp to show just how valuable he really is. Leaked interest from contenders. Social media posts with cryptic emojis. That's not pettiness, it's pressure. And it works. It rattles management. It gets fan bases talking. It creates headlines that push GMs into desperation mode. Either way, the countdown has started. And the Cowboys? They're running out of time.